Let's talk about a terminology that you might have heard a lot in your life, but what it is actually. So we are going to talk about API, Application Programming Interface. We are not merely going to talk about it, we are going to implement it as well. And it is really easy to implement, so don't worry about that. So basically, what is API? As the name suggests, it is an interface. The I stands for interface. So this is kind of a middleware between user and the service provider, or you can say between a user and a large database or a large system. Let me give you an example and let me tell you why interface is really important. For example, we have been using interfaces at every part of our life. If I want to switch on a light or a fan or an air conditioner or a heater, I'll have to hit a button. Now, this button is my interface to interact with electricity. What happens after hitting that button? None of my business. I just want to hit it and the light should turn on. If I'll hit it again, the light should turn off. That's it, right? Now, what is the mechanism going behind turning on the light and turning off the light? I don't care about it, right? Now, this is the importance of interface. Now, if I want to use the functionality of ChatGPT or functionality of any generative model, do I have to import their models as it is? Do I have to train a new model? No, I don't have to do that. Luckily, almost all these generative AI tools are providing their APIs, their interfaces. So, for example, every interface has its own set of rules. If I want to turn on the light, the interface which is the switch, its interface is different. If I want to start my car, the interface which is inserting the key is different than switching on the light. So interacting with generative AI apps, there's another interface where we have to send the request by using some programming language, right? Now, what are the benefits of this API? It increases the integration, efficiency, scalability, flexibility, automation, and much more things inside your business. For example, if you are making online payments in a restaurant, restaurant owner isn't going to bank to submit your payment. What are they actually doing? They're using API to process the payment of your card, right? So what we will be doing in next few videos, we will be using ChatGPT API. So far, what Fizza has told you to do, how you can use their website, right? But what if you want to integrate a chatbot of ChatGPT or OpenAI into your restaurant business? You cannot let a user to use ChatGPT, right? So what you will do is you will probably have your own website in the front end, but at back end, there will be ChatGPT that will be responding to the queries of probably restaurant customers or any of the businesses, right? So we will create kind of a tiny software or tiny interface where we will allow user to interact with ChatGPT or OpenAI or any generative AI model by using our interface. So interface that will be used can be your website, my website. So we'll be using Python interface, but at backend there will be ChatGPT that will be responding. So this is a brief introduction. If things are not very much clear, don't worry about it. In next few videos, we are going to practically implement it, so things will be very much clear to you. All right, so far, I hope we have a basic understanding and introduction to application programming interface, right, which is API. So here is a diagram that says, for example, here we have a computer, or we have our system, our website, our mobile app, or whatever we have, right? We will interact with API, right? We will not interact with the database or the system of third party. Third party will provide an interface, an API, application programming interface, that will interact with us and we will interact with API. So we will request API to get us some data. Now, it is the job of API how it will communicate this request to the database or third-party system, and then the third-party database or third-party system will reply this API with particular data, and then this API will send us or will provide us the data for which we have requested, right? So let's get started. And as we know that for this purpose, we are going to talk about OpenAI. So we'll say OpenAI API. All you have to do is just Google OpenAI API. So by the way, OpenAI is the parent company of ChatGPT. So we are going to use the API of OpenAI. So this link that says platform.openai.com, click on this link and it will take us to the home page of OpenAI. By the way, I have already signed in by using my account. If you have not signed in, please sign up by using your simple any Google account or Microsoft or whatever account you have. It is very simple, just a two-step process, right? So just sign in. That is the first thing. Second thing, once you sign in, you will be able to see a picture over here, your Gmail picture over here. Then go over there, hit on your profile, and then from here you can add the billing method as well. So I have already added my credit card to this billing method, right? So if we move on and we check about the pricing that is offered by OpenAI, then here I already have a link available. So it is not very expensive. It's actually quite cheap. So this is actually the flagship model of ChatGPT right now, which is GPT 4.0 or 4.0. So if we use GPT 4.0, then we can spend $5 per, and we'll get a lot of input tokens. For example, in $15, we will have 1 million output tokens. And if we use GPT 4.0 this version, then in $5 we will have 1 million input tokens, and in $15 we will have 1 million output tokens. Now, what are the tokens? You can assume a token to be a word, right? You can say a token is a word in short, right? And if you this is by the way in millions. If you click over here, show prices per 1000 tokens, then you see per 1000 token, we will have to spend $0.015 for output tokens, and for input tokens we'll have to spend 0.0050 per 1000 tokens, right? Not one token but 1000. So if we are dealing with ChatGPT API, and we are working with almost 1000 words, then this is how much it is going to cost us. Not much, right? And not only this is about GPT 4.0. We have some other models also available with us that says, for example, this text embedding model, right? So it is even cheaper. We have fine-tuning model, even cheaper. So this is actually the free version of ChatGPT that we are using right now nowadays, right? Which is GPT 3.5 Turbo. So with GPT 3.5 Turbo, this is the price that we will get for 1000 tokens. Now, you might be wondering that which model should we use and which model does which job. So usually people use OpenAI or ChatGPT only for text purposes. But let me tell you, you can use ChatGPT for almost any purpose, which means that you can also create images by using ChatGPT as well. You can also work with the audios as well. For example, here, if you check it out, you can check out the audio models, which is TTS1, that is also available by OpenAI. You can work with this as well. As an example, obviously, we will work with text, but you can work with images as well. You see, image, and the Dell E model, Dell E3 is the latest model, which is deployed by OpenAI, and it can work with the images as well, right? So right now I'm telling you a lot of theoretical stuff, which is quite boring. So let's jump into some practical stuff, and let's see if we can create a model, not creating a model, but if we can write some code that can hit OpenAI API, and it can get us some output out of it. So let's see how it works. Okay, so in order to work with the APIs of OpenAI, we have to have some coding platforms. So far I know you and Feza are working with the VS Code, right? But here I'm going to work with Collab. Well, that's just my personal preference. You can work with VS Code as well, no worries. Google Collab is really easy to use. I mean, you don't have to install anything, right? Just go ahead, write collab.google, and then come to this open sign, open Collab, and it may ask you for sign in. So if you have a Google account, Gmail account, you can use that Gmail account to sign in. Hit on new notebook, and a new notebook will be ready in a Python environment for us. Here we go, right? Okay, so first thing first, whenever we open a new notebook, what do? We say hello, right? Just to see if everything is working perfectly fine. So it will take a few seconds to run the first cell because it is setting up the whole environment. It is, as you can see over here, it is connecting, and here we go, it is connected. Cool. Yeah, we're good now. So first thing what we have to do is we'll have to install OpenAI. So we'll say from OpenAI, I want to import a model called O with capital O, open, and with again capital AI, right? So from OpenAI, I want to import OpenAI. If I run it, it should give me error. Yeah, we have it. Great. So it says no module named OpenAI, which means that we have to install OpenAI first. So I'll say exclamation mark pip install OpenAI, and that's it. Running it, and it will be installed in just 1 or 2 seconds. Here we go. So it has downloaded and it is installed as well. Now if I run it, it is working perfectly fine, right? Let's add a few more coding cells over here. So now we have imported the OpenAI over here, and then we have to produce a client object. So we'll say client equals to OpenAI, right? We are going to instantiate an object of OpenAI over here, and we have to pass an API key to the object of OpenAI, right? Now, what is this API key and from where we can get it? Well, this API key is kind of authentication to our account, which account we are using, is it paid or not, and all these things. So very easy. We'll go back to our account. We'll go to profile, and here we'll come to security. No, we'll come to user API keys, right? So I have already created one key over here, but forget about that. I'm going to create a new one. So we will hit on this create new secret key, right? And if I click over here, it says, what are you going to name it? So let me name it as AI sciences, right? I'll say create secret key. And by the way, you have to have some balance in your account. Although it's very cheap, but still you have to have that much balance, right? Cool. So here is our API key ready. Make sure that you copy this, right? Because if you will say done and you want to copy it later on, it will not be available for us, right? So hit copy and hit done. And one more thing, please do not share it with anyone. The keys that you're seeing on my screen right now, I'm going to delete it right after this video. So no one is going to use it. But if you will share your secret key with anyone else, maybe they will be able to use OpenAI from your account or from your balance, right? So running it, and yeah, our API key is accepted. Now, what are we gonna do? So we're gonna say stream equals to stream equals to, and by the way, whatever I'm gonna do over here, you can find its coding examples over here in API preferences as well, right? So they have provided pretty much detailed documentation over here. So I'm going to give you an example of streaming that can help us produce a chatbot, but you can find out the documentation for audio, for chat, for fine-tuning models, for code producing models, for image producing models, and so on and so forth, right? So I'll say stream equals to client, which is the object we created over here. So client dot chat, no chat, yeah, chat dot completions, yeah, dot create. So we are going to create a chat over here. Now here we have to pass a few things. First of all, we have to pass the model. So our model is going to be, let's say I'm going to use GPT, um, sorry, 3.5 dash turbo. We can use GPT 4.0 as well, but as you've seen in the last video, you should keep the pricing in mind as well, right? Now here comes the important thing. We'll say messages, because it is going to be a list of a few messages, right? So in this list, we have to pass two things, right, in a form of dictionary. One thing is we have to pass the role, right? We have to define the role of people as well. So first of all, I'm going to say system, right? What is the role of system? It will be defined in the content, and make sure everything is in strings. So here I'm going to say system means the chat GPT, right? So I'll say you are a restaurant customer support or something, right? So here I'm defining the role of ChatGPT. Then hit comma, another another dictionary over here, and then we'll say role again. Now this is going to be the role of user, and here the content, I forgot the string sign again and again and again. So the content are going to be, now what message are you going to ask to this chat GPT? So let's say the food was really bad last night. Okay? So this is what I'm going to ask. Cool. So we have both of the roles now, role of ChatGPT in the system and role of user in the form of user, right? And finally, here we'll say stream equals to true. It is not much needed over here because it will just put our streaming conversation to true. That's it, right? So I'll say stream equals to true, and it's not true, it's true. TRUE. Yeah, cool. So our model should be ready now, right? If I run it, should I run it? Yeah, I should run it. Now it is hitting the API, and the API has replied in the form of string. So let's see what we have got. So we've got an object. So now let's try to decode this object. So we'll say for chunk in string, right? So what is the string? This is one, right? Since it can hold a complete conversation, so that's why we are iterating over it by using for loop, right? So I'll say if chunk dot choices of 0 dot data dot content is not none. So we are just making sure that the thing in which we are interested is available over here, right? Then what do we want to do? We want to print out chunk choice of 0, and by the way, this is not data, this is delta, right? So if this is available, then all I want is I want to print it out, right? So yeah, that's it, running it. So here we go, we have the response of the ChatGPT, but it is in a terrible format. So in order to make it in a non-terrible format, we'll say end equals to this, so that it does not put an end line signal at the end of every word, right? Running it again. Oh no, what happened? Okay, run this line again, and then we'll come back. Here we go. Okay, so it says, I am sorry to hear that you had a bad experience with our food last night. Please accept our apology and blah 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 blah. What should be, I mean, it's an exactly same response. What should be a response of restaurant customer support if some customer says the food was really bad, right? So this is how we can hit the API and we can get the response. But yeah, you might be wondering that it is not quite useful thing that we have learned today. So my answer is we are not done yet for today. There's a very exciting thing coming up where we will be building a complete chatbot that will be actually chatting with ChatGPT. Let's see how we can make it. All right. So far, we have installed OpenAI library with us. We have imported OpenAI. We have created a secret key as well, which was very easy to create. And then we were able to access Open AI API, right? But it wasn't very fruitful. We just tried to print out a reply that was coming out of ChatGPT, right? So here we are gonna build a chatbot now. Let's call it chatbot like this. And then let's see how we can make it, right? For this, again, we need these two things. We need to import the library, and we also need this client as well. So we need these two things. Let me copy this, print it over here. Let me copy this as well, and print it here as well. Okay, so run these two cells. We don't have to run these two cells again and again, so that's why let's put this thing in a separate cell. Now here I'm going to say, obviously any chatbot will have some conversation history as well, right? Because if we talk to someone, our response is based upon some context, right? And that context is conversation history. So I'll say conversation underscore history equals to, so here again we need to pass a dictionary, a list of dictionaries, and we will have role over here, role of system, come on, and the quotation sign. And then what is the role? It will be defined in the content, and this is how it works. So this time we are going to create a chatbot for what? Let's create the same chatbot again. So you will say you are a restaurant customer support agent, right? We can also provide complete details as well. For example, this is how you should respond, these are your responsibilities, or for example, these are the stats that we already have. If someone asks about how much profit is, how much the price of any particular product, we can provide all that information over here, and this agent will remember all these things perfectly, right? So yeah, we have a conversation history, and then we'll print out a welcome message. So we'll say welcome to the restaurant. Oh, I think it's restaurant. Customer support chat, right? Let's say, how can I help you? Cool. Okay, so yeah, we have printed the welcome message as well, and then we'll say while true. So there's going to be an infinite loop. Inside the loop, we'll decide when we want to interrupt the loop, right? So we'll say user input is going to be coming from the user, right? So we'll say input. So by the way, we have a message, we have, sorry, not a message, we have a function in Python, specifically in Colab or Jupyter Notebook. It's called input. It allows user to enter the input, right? For example, here, if I say input and I run it, yeah, you see, it is asking me for the input. So if I send some input, then yeah, this is how it works, right? So whatever input we are sending, for example, here I said SD, so SD will be saved in user input, right? Let me get rid of it. And moreover, inside the input, whatever parameter we will pass, that will be used as a prompt. So our prompt will be you, which means that you have to type over here, right? Cool. Now, what do we have to do? We'll say conversation. Oh, before that, we have to decide if we want to continue with the loop or not based upon the user input, right? So we'll say if user input is equals to let's say is equals to end. So if user says end, then break the loop. So it will end the conversation with the ChatGPT, right? Now, what else? Let me just do this so that we can have more space over here. The next thing is we are going to say conversation history dot append. So we want to append what? We want to append another dictionary to existing conversation, right? So the role is going to be what? Yeah, you guessed it right. The role is going to be the user, and the content is going to be what? Content is coming from here, user input, right? So we'll say content is going to be user input, right? So we are just going to add this to the conversation history, and then the whole conversation history will be passed to GPT. So for that, we already have written this API link over here, API structure over here. Here we go. Instead of messages and passing all these things, we'll remove it and we will pass this conversation history, right? Because we have everything over here. Now, if system and user are interacting back and forth for, let's say, 5, 10, 20, 30, 100 messages, the whole conversation history will be available over here, and ChatGPT will be able to reply according to that, right? Which will be very, very, very what? Very, very optimal. All right. Cool. Let me just do something like this. Cool. Now, we are able to create the loop. We are able to take the input. We are able to decide the breaking condition as well. We are able to we are able to format the input to the conversation history, and here we are able to hit the API, ChatGPT API as well. Now, very simple. All we have to do is we have to print out the response, right? So we'll say customer support, right? And here we are gonna say and equals to this, so that, remember last time, so that we don't get end of line signal every time. And then we'll say flush equals to true, right? Cool. And so here we are prompting that the customer support message is going to be displayed over here, and then what do we have to do is very simple. We only have to copy this and we have to paste it over here, right? So this stream will be an output over here, and we'll have to indent it accordingly, this one as well. Yeah, looks fine to me. Oh yeah, cool. And then after all that, we'll say print end of line. How do we print end of line? We'll say \n, and our chatbot is ready. Let's use it and let's see if we have any error or not. Great. So it says, welcome to the customer support chat. How can I help you? So let's say I'll say I forgot my keys at the restaurant last night, right? Hit enter. Okay, so it says, oh, customer support, not customer support. So there's a typo over here. It should be M, right? Okay, so it says, I'm sorry to hear that you forgot the keys at restaurant. Please provide me with the details of your visit and blah blah blah, the dates and everything, right? So that I'll check with our lost and found department to see. Okay, so I'll say it was a key ring of red color that has 2 keys in it, right? Hit enter. So here you see the whole conversation. I mean, it is kind of a chat GPT, right? So it says, I'm sorry to hear that, forgot your keys at restaurant last night. Let me check with our lost and found department. And it is it is telling us to see if your red key ring with 2 keys has been turned in, sorry. can you please provide with more description, and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I mean, this is how it goes, and the conversation can go on and on. We can say, how can I order food? Well, I'm literally deviating from the topic. So it says, now it is again in the awe of, it is again telling us, oh, I'm sorry, you forgot your key and blah blah blah. And then it is also telling us how to order the food. To order the food, you can place the order through the restaurant's website, delivery, and blah blah blah, right? And then if I say end, the conversation has ended and our chatbot is ready to use. By the way, this is a very general chatbot that we have. As I mentioned here in the content, you can define as much information as you want. You can also upload your whole menu over here along with prices. Again, I'm just talking about a restaurant business. It can be anything, right? It can be anything. You can upload the whole menu over here and this bot will reply according to that, right? Moreover, you cannot, I mean, it is, and by the way, whatever the code we wrote over there, you can find its that code's link over here as well. This is how we hit the API for stream and stuff like that, right? This is how we output the we print the output that is coming out of ChatGPT, right? And then you can build the audio models as well by using TTS. How to use it, you can just read out the documentation, and rest of the things are self-explanatory. You can also build the image models as well. Not build, pardon me for that. You can use the image models as well, and much more. So this is how we can use the generative AI APIs. And again, this is only for OpenAI. This tutorial was only for OpenAI, how to use OpenAI APIs. Any generative AI website, they will surely have their API models, their APIs as well. So make sure you check out the documentation of relevant um, generative AI platform that you want to use. Check out the documentation and go ahead and use that. And happy learning. Bye.